It begins in a small kitchen that smells of dish soap and cold coffee. A light bulb hums above the table, and your hand is tiny against an adult knee, feeling the tremor you are not allowed to name. You are 7, and you learn, by touch and by the way the room exhales, that steady matters more than shouting. You hold your breath because someone near you is falling apart, and the quiet of your chest becomes the only sound that keeps the house from breaking. Without ceremony, you become the one who steadies. You tie a towel into a makeshift bandage. You hold a phone so your parent can call for help. You tell yourself very clearly that if you do not fix this, no one will. You learn very young that your usefulness is the currency of safety. The voice inside repeats it like an instruction manual. If I do not hold the edges, nothing holds. Psychologists call this parentification. It is when a child is pressed into the role of caregiver or emotional regulator. It matters because it changes the wiring of the nervous system. The pattern trains you into constant alertness. Hypervigilance becomes a habit. Your body learns to scan rooms, to listen for the notes of someone going quiet, to measure the temperature of a mood like a hand on a fevered forehead. That learning has a logic. In a home where the grown-ups are inconsistent, taking charge is a survival strategy. Survival works, so survival repeats itself. You become skilled in anticipating needs, at smoothing conflict, at translating chaos into calm. You develop a set of rules that keep you and the people you love afloat. But those very rules come with a cost. You might be numb in good moments. You might feel like an observer when something beautiful happens. You might refuse help because asking feels like risking the fragile balance you built. You might confuse burnout for proof that you are doing it right. You might erase your own hunger in order to feed others. You might enter relationships where you solve more than you receive. You might name your value by how much you manage to carry. Those are not moral failures. They are the after effects of a sensible brain that learned to protect at all costs. I want you to remember a specific small scene. The kitchen tile is warm under your bare feet. The coffee smells bitter, and your mother, Maria, is at the sink, her shoulders shaking slightly. You say nothing at first because you are learning to be quiet. Then you say, "Mom, are you okay?" She looks up, her eyes wet, and she says, "You are so mature, you always know what to do." You reply, "But I want to play." She answers, "I need you to hold this for me." You say, "I am trying." The conversation is short, but it repeats like a refrain. Hear the scrape of a chair leg, feel the paper towel between your fingers, notice the taste of saliva gone flat from swallowed questions. That exchange teaches you how to make stability feel like a duty. Parentification rewires attachment. Instead of being the child who leans into care, you become the child who produces care. It creates a map where giving is safety and receiving is risk. Over time, this becomes a pattern that shows up at work, with friends, and in intimate relationships. Marcus at the office praises you for never dropping a deadline. Lena, your sister, texts at 2 in the morning and you answer. Tom, your father, avoids eye contact and you fill in the blanks. Your friend Anna comes by with a suitcase and you put her up without asking for your own needs. Dr. Patel will later call this a survival pattern rooted in complex trauma. And that phrase gives a name to what you were taught to do. Here are some ways this shows up now. You feel guilty resting. You take responsibility for other people's moods. You say yes when your body is saying no. You rehearse calm the way actors rehearse lines. You tolerate disrespect because you believe you are needed. You confuse boundaries with negligence. Those are triggers that keep you locked in a loop of caretaking. Pause for a moment and take a breath. If any of this hits you, write one word in the comments that names what you feel now. It can be relief, anger, confusion, or blank. If you want to add a line, write whether you still feel responsible for calming everyone around you. I read the comments and I choose responses to highlight. When people name their feeling, it gives others permission to feel the same. That one word can be the first small border you draw toward yourself. Now let us look at why the body keeps doing this. In early attachment, unpredictability trains the brain to trade innocence for control. Your nervous system learns a calculus. If I can predict mood and fix it, then threat drops. That learning is not a flaw. It is an adaptation. It is survival. Hypervigilance and covert caregiving keep anxiety at bay in the short term. The problem is that these strategies do not age out automatically. They become default settings. Years later, you still scan rooms for danger. You still apologize even when you did nothing. You still wait for a crack before you breathe. This is why blame is not the answer. Naming the pattern is. You did what your system needed to do to survive. Reframing that allows gentleness. You are not wrong to protect. You are not selfish or manipulative. Your nervous system chose a path that kept you alive in a house where adult help was inconsistent. That knowledge is liberating because it replaces self-condemnation with clarity and compassion. Healing begins with witness and small practices of repair. Witnessing means turning toward the inner child and listening without fixing. It means saying to that little you, out loud or in writing, "I see you. You survived." This is not an invitation to relive the past. It is a step to relocate the wounded parts into a container of safety. Begin with 3 concrete actions. First, name the pattern in a sentence. I was parentified and I learned to be the manager of emotions. Second, experiment with one boundary this week. Tell Marcus at work that you will not take calls after 7. Tell Lena you can help on Saturday, but you need Sunday for rest. Third, practice regulation tools for the body. Try box breathing for 3 minutes when you feel a surge of responsibility. Here is a mini exercise you can do right now. Close your eyes and bring the 7-year-old you into the room. Notice the texture of their clothes with your hands in your mind, the sound of distant footsteps, the smell of the kitchen. Say to them, "I am here and you are safe now." Place your hand on your chest and feel the rise and fall. If words are hard, write a letter and tuck it into a box. That small witness resets circuitry more often than you think. To make this concrete, notice how it shows up in everyday scenes. Marcus from accounting messages at 9 with a crisis and you drop dinner to respond. Sam the neighbor calls and you drive over to fix a problem you did not cause. Dr. Patel suggests scripting a response and practicing it in the mirror. Anna sees you cry at a party and brings soup without asking questions. Lena asks you to choose a movie together and you say yes even though you want to sleep. At a team meeting, your boss, Marcus, calls you indispensable and you feel a simultaneous warm rush and a hollow in your chest. Each of these people plays a role in the web that keeps the pattern alive. Naming them and their actions allows you to see the social architecture that supports the habit. We need to talk briefly about relationship with codependency. Codependency often walks hand in hand with parentification. It disguises itself as loyalty and devotion. You might confuse caretaking with love. You might feel intense shame when you receive instead of give. Recognizing the overlap is part of repair because it helps you design different contracts. Practice a negotiation script. Say to a friend or colleague, "I want to help, but I also need to rest." This sentence contains both compassion and a limit. It is not betrayal, it is repair. If you are starting therapy, that can be a place to experiment with boundaries in safety. A therapist, like Dr. Patel, or a clinician informed by attachment theory, can help you build regulation exercises and name triggers. Reading Jung or attachment research can help frame the narrative. But the work is practical and embodied. Witnessing the inner child, practicing boundaries, seeking validation from trusted people, and practicing body-based regulation are the pillars. Before we close, a quick practice to try tonight. Write a 2-minute message to your inner child. Include what you wish you had heard then. Keep it simple. It can be, "I see you, you did enough, you can rest now." Read it aloud or place it under your pillow. Small rituals accumulate into change. You did what you needed to survive. That is the central truth. Reclaiming parts of yourself does not mean rejecting your strengths. It means returning them to you on different terms. If this video helped, share it with someone who might recognize this pattern. If you want guided exercises for witnessing the inner child, leave a comment saying, "I want a guided witness," and I will bring a recorded practice. Subscribe to continue these conversations about complex trauma, attachment, and repair. You are learning new rules for being human. You are not broken, you are in the work of becoming whole.